doing lesson 12. In your problem set, it originally was going to have you measure with a ruler, but I didn't know how many of you had rulers at home, so I went ahead and I wrote the measurements on there for you. If you want to use a ruler just for fun and for practice, you're more than welcome to, but for today I'm just giving you the measurements. So again, we are using mixed number side lengths to find area. So here I have 2 1/4. I'm going to separate the whole number 2 and the fraction 1/4. So I'm going to put 2 as my length here and 1/4 for my length here. It's still 2 1/4. I just broke it up. And then up here, I'm going to separate 1 1/4. So this is going to be 1. This is going to be 1/4. This square here, if I'm finding the area, the length and width is 1 by 2. So 1 times 2 equals 2 inches squared. There's that one. For this rectangle here, my side lengths are 1/4 and 2. So I'm going to do 2 times 1/4. I'm going to make 2 into a fraction by putting it over 1. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 4 is 4. 2/4 is the same thing as 1/2. Here in this rectangle, again, my side lengths are 1/4. And then I have 1 whole. 1/4 times 1 whole is just going to give us 1/4 again. And then right here, my side lengths are 1/4 by 1/4. So I'm going to have to do 1/4 times 1/4. And I'm going to get 1/8 inches squared. So now I'm going to have to add all of these rectangles together. So I have 2 inches plus a 1/2 inch plus a 1/4 of an inch plus an 1/8 of an inch. And we know that we can't add fractions with unlike denominators. So I'm going to have to find the lowest common denominator, otherwise known as the LCD. So if I count by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8, 4, 8. Look, 8 is the common denominator in all of them. So I'm going to keep the whole number the same. I'm going to change 1/2 into 4/8. I'm going to change 1/4 into 2/8. And I'm going to keep 1/8 the same. And then I get 2 and 4, 5, 6, 7/8 inches squared as my final area for the entire rectangle. Okay, moving on to this one. Obviously, this is not a 1/2 inch because it would be a lot smaller, but I just made it bigger so you guys can see. The 1/2 inch I don't need to separate because there's not a whole number that goes with it. For 1 3/4, I'm going to separate it into, here's 1 whole, here's 3/4. So this rectangle here, the length is 1/2, the width is 1. 1/2 times 1 equals 1/2. Down here, the length is 1/2, the width is 3/4. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 4 is 8. So now I have 1/2 plus 3/8. Once again, these denominators are not the same, so I'm going to have to find the lowest common denominator, which is 8ths. I'm going to change 1/2 into 4/8 and then add 3/8, and my final answer will be 7/8 inches squared. Hopefully you guys are getting really good at these, understanding how to separate those whole numbers and those fractions. If you need any help, please let me know. This is the third time or the third lesson that we've done this, so feel free to go back and watch any of the other examples. We're going to get into more of a challenge problem next. In your problem set today, you're going to see a problem that looks like this, where they want the area of the shaded part, but not this open space right here. So the way I would go ahead and solve this problem is let's put a story to it. Let's pretend that all of this backyard, the green stuff is grass, and this part right here is like a driveway, so it's cement. And they want to know how many square feet of grass was planted. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it. You can chunk up the rectangle and all that, but I think that the easiest way is to pretend that this is grass too, to figure out the whole entire backyard, what's that square feet, and then kind of subtract out the cement part. So let's figure out the whole yard first. So the length of the whole yard is 16.5, and the width of the whole yard is 16.5. So when I do area, I do length times width. So what you have to do is do 16.5 times 16.5. I'm going to separate the whole numbers and the fractions just like I was in my previous area models. So I'm going to do 16.5 and then 16 and a half. And I'm going to kind of separate that out. So this box would be 16 times 16. This box would be 16 times 1/2. This box would be 1/2 times 1/2. And this box here would be 1/2 times 16. So 16 times 16, you can solve that on your own. I'm going to solve it on a calculator so I can make this video shorter. It's going to be 256 feet squared. 16 times 1/2 is going to be 16 over 2, which is just 8 holes. 1/2 times 16, 8 holes, and 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4. So now I need to add all of those together to figure out the total square footage of the yard. 256 plus 8 plus 8 plus 1/4. 256 plus 8 will give you 264, plus 8 more should give you 272 and 1/4 feet squared. Let me check my answers there just because I did that in my head. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so that's the whole yard. That means if there wasn't this concrete thing here and I just had the whole yard would be this much. But as you can see, there's a chunk of grass missing. So I'm going to figure out what's the area of this concrete driveway thing, and then I'm going to subtract it to figure out how much grass is there. So for this, we just have a square, right? If I closed that in like that, see how it's like a square? And it's 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet. So again, I'm going to do 2.5 times 2.5. And just like my area models that I have been doing, I'm going to separate the whole number in the fraction. So 2, 1/2, 2, 1/2. To find this square, it's 2 times 2, which is 4. This square would be 1/2 times 2, which is 1 whole. Same thing here, 1/2 times 2 gives me 1 whole. And here it's 1/2 times 1/2, which again gives me 1/4. So if I add all of these together, that's 4 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1/4. So I'm going to have a total of 6 and 1/4 feet squared. That's not grass. So if this is the whole yard, this is what's not grass. I'm just going to do the whole yard minus the concrete, and then I'll be able to figure out the grass. So 272 and 1/4, oops, not 1/2, 1/4 minus 6 and 1/4. 1/4 minus 1/4 is obviously 0/4, so I can leave it out there. 672, take away 6. I can't do minus 2, so I'm going to borrow, make this a 6, make this a 12. 266 and 0/4. So really, I'm just going to turn that into 266 feet squared of grass. And that would be my final answer. You'll have another chance to do that on your own problem set today, but hopefully that makes some sense. For your problem set today, again, I measured for you, so they should be on there. You're going to do number 1. Please pick at least 3 to solve for number 1. Number 2, solve as normal. 3, solve as normal. And number 4, please solve just letter A. For your exit ticket today, that's a lot of problems on the problem set. So what I'm going to have you do is, instead of doing an exit ticket, just take a picture of number 2 from your problem set and upload that. Have a great day.